All right. Hello and welcome, Plato community. My name is Janice Little. I'm SVP of Engineering at SheerID. We're an identity marketing platform that allows marketers to acquire customers through personalized gated offers for students, military, healthcare workers, and other influential consumer communities. Today with me is Rukmini Reddy, SVP of Engineering at Slack, Antonio Silveria, Head of Engineering at Nextdoor, and Chao Guo, SVP of Engineering at Bolt. And I am honored to moderate this panel entitled From 10 to 1,000 Engineers, the One Value That Matters, Trust. So welcome, panelists.
Thank you, Janice.
Getting the wave. Okay. So yeah, a quick round of intros. Rukmini, maybe you can kick it off by telling us just a little bit about your background.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Rukmini Reddy. My pronouns are she, her. Engineering leadership on Slack platform. Really excited to be here. And, given that this topic is about engineers and how large the team is, we have over 1,000 engineers in Slack and definitely more than a few thousand engineers at Salesforce. It's very nice to be here.
So I can go next. Hello, everyone. I'm Antonio. I lead engineering at Nextdoor. I'm originally from Brazil, born and raised, moved to the Bay Area 13 years ago. And I've been working with companies in the Valley for 20 plus years. And I joined Nextdoor about 3 years ago. And in the time since I joined to now, we kind of scaled the engineering team 4x. So lots of challenges and also lots of learnings in the process. So happy to share there with you today.
Hey everyone, my name is Xiao. I lead engineering at Bolt. So we are a one-click checkout company that powers independent retailers and support their shopping experience and shopping journey. Also building a decentralized shopper network so that people can purchase and buy seamlessly on the independent websites. So I joined Bolt around a year and a half ago. So we grew our engineering team from 2-digit to 3 digits. And before Bolt, I worked at Instacart before. When I joined, we had 150-ish engineers, and we grew that over the pandemic to 10x, 1,000, 2,000 engineers. So trust is something that's kind of very, very deeply resonates with me. So very excited to be talking to you about trust today. Back to you, Janice.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, what a powerhouse panel. This is great. So before we get into it, just the audience should know that there's a Q&A. So go ahead and start adding and upvoting questions in the Q&A tab. And I guess we'll just kick it off with, can you boil down in a sentence what trust means to you? And maybe Antonio, we'll have you kick this one off.
I think, that for me, trust is really a two-way road. I think a lot about how we can build a relationship where you can rely on each other, right? So it's a way for our teams to rely on us and us rely on them, and for them to trust each other and rely on each other. And this is, I love this panel and this topic because at Nextdoor specifically, our number one company value is earn trust every day. And what's behind that is you should never take that for granted, right? So every day you reinforce that relationship and that trust with your peers, with your partners, with your team, with the engineers, with the designers. So it's a continuous investment of your energy to make this continue to work, especially as you grow, and especially in the world in the last 2 years when the connection kind of started to break down. And now is the time that we need to re-energize and really invest a lot on continue to build and reinforce trust. So that's very close to my heart and to what we do at Nextdoor. So looking forward to share more.
Xiao or Rukmini, do you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I can start. So for me, trust means that we have the best interest in mind for the other people. So to me, like we as managers, we give critical or constructive feedback to our teams very often. So I think the only way for people to really value and really listen to feedback is that they trust that we have their best in mind. We want their career to grow. We want them to shine. We want in the future them to succeed. So once people understand that we really, really have their best interest in mind, we have the trust, then everything else just becomes more easier. So to me, I always try to build trust with team and suggest engineer leaders have the trust with their team, with their peers before they can give all the other feedback. And the feedback doesn't have to be good, but the trust being there, be able to share more the critical constructive ones.
I love Brené Brown, so Brené Brown fan here, and I think she has this amazing analogy for trust. Trust is a jar of marbles you give another person, and every time there are actions that cause the trust to be taken away, you remove some marbles from the jar, and every time you do something positive to the relationship, the marbles are put back in. I think it's a very simple construct. It applies every day in our lives. It applies in our work. It definitely applies in engineering leadership.
I love it. So much good stuff in there. So yeah, it's mutual, having each other's best interests in mind. Yeah, I love it. Why don't we keep going here? So I know, we've kind of laid that groundwork of what trust is to you. Let's move into this idea of scaling it. So how have you seen the trust dynamics change with the size of your organizations, and what's really most critical for leaders to understand? And Xiao, why don't we start with you this time?
Sounds good. So what I notice is when, let's say, start with the first line managers, people typically build a trust with their direct team, let's say like 10 people. And then it grows for people more senior, then the trust dynamic kind of changes. They don't have to be with their direct team. It has to be with their skip level, their direct level, and it has to be because they manage more scope, they have more influence. They have to build a trust with their peers too, so that they're more smoother collaboration. Even their peers, stakeholders, their peers reports for them to be successful. And then as it grows more, and then the trust also expand to the cross-functional, not just within engineering. They have to really build trust with the product or design or data science and other stakeholders because there's more and more people influence their org and their success, and then that trust with more and more people. And then as people grow even more senior, let's say leads the whole engineering, and then trust has to be even further, sometimes even outside the company, with the client, with the customers, to help bring business to the company, and also help. Also, the trust has to be even extended beyond tech, and has to be with finance, with legal. So the trust can grow more and more, and then there are just many. So because there are just like so many people to influence as you grow. So normally, I would tell myself that every day, everything you interact with people, every interaction counts with everybody. Like Antonio says, like it takes a lot of time to build a trust. It takes a few things to just ruin the trust. So every day, every action, every interaction you make with people, try to enhance the trust with every interaction.
I love that. Who wants to jump in next?
I can just say plus two. Like, I think managers really have to, it's a concept of that you have to shift as you grow from line manager. As a line manager, your A team, usually you start out with like, the people reporting to me are my A team. They're my first team. I owe them everything. And that's great. That's exactly how you begin your management career. And to Charles' point, you have to continue to think about who's my A team. Where do I spend? We only have a finite amount of time. I always say this to all my managers. You only have a finite amount of time. And as your organization scales, you should really think about where you want to put, whom do you want to give your jar of marbles to? And how do you want to influence that person? And I think that changes based on the stage of career you're on, the scale of the organization.
Yeah, plus 100 to everything. I think, one of the things that I've seen that happens, especially in moments like this that we're living right now, where so a lot of pressure, from the market in all the businesses, and we're seeing a lot more pressure on on tech companies like those that we have here at Elevate. is that under stress and in hard moments like this is where you test your trust of your organization. So then you start to see the cracks happening. And I would say that, the thing that works the most is to be transparent always. Right. So, and the other thing that starts to happen as you grow is I think it's important to build this culture of feedback and transparency. And because as you grow, it's natural to form silos. You're going to have a team that takes care of, the revenue products, or you're going to have a team that takes care of the infrastructure. And then what happens with scale is that you start to focus on that. And sometimes you lose focus on why we're building the whole thing. Right? So why we're building this company, this product, and offering those services to those we serve. And I think, the typical thing you see when the trust is really, really, you're losing trust is that the company starts to be political. You start to see, the little chat here, the little chat there. And the way I think about this is constant, direct, transparent, constructive feedback all the time. And as a leader, you need to be absolutely open for that. Right? So to receive the constructive feedback, the things that we always have things that we can do better. And I really believe as you grow, I believe that you need to have this strong feedback culture for those moments when it's very, very hard. And we all need to focus and work together.
To Antonio's point, I just want to add one more thing. I think it's so important to admit your failures. So important. It is like one of those moments where, like someone's mentioning in chat, like you take you put deposits little by little, but when you take withdrawals from trust banks, they're usually large. Like moments of change management, like we're, in economic downturn right now. This stuff is hard, and you be transparent, you be kind through that. And most importantly, just say, I'm sorry we screwed up. I think that goes a really long way for a manager to acknowledge when things are not going right. That builds a lot of trust.
Yeah, 100%. Right now, I'm sure a lot of us and you navigated a lot through the economics changes this year, and a lot of decisions might have changed. A lot of strategic investment have changed, hiring, pausing, freezing. A lot has changed. I agree with Rukmini that it's so important to share with everybody the context why it has changed. Maybe leadership could have done better to, for example, hiring more conservatively or more in a, I think just like bring everybody along in the journey, in the decision making, and not just like give people a surprise and not understanding why we're making the decisions. I think it goes a long way. So even if in tough economics environment, stick the team together, try to hold the team together is something leadership can do by building a trust organization.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I love hearing from you, being honest, being forthright with the information, reducing, and squashing any gossip that you see that gets going. And this is so key because everyone's remote. Everybody is staring down, macroeconomic downturn. So anything anybody else wants to add on that, or should we keep going? All right. I love this panel because they said we could do a lightning round. So let's do it. So tips and tricks and advice. So we're going to do a little rapid fire here. So just, you could feel free to yell it out here. Let's start with one interesting thing you do to signal a signal that you have to measure trust. Rukmini, why don't you jump in?
Yeah, I actually do pulse surveys on my organization twice a year. And as the organization scaled, it's really helped. And I ask them if they're confident in my leadership. It is really hard to ask that question, but it's you have to look in the mirror as a leader. It's your responsibility towards your team. So I've created that culture of where you have to give me feedback and you have to tell me how I'm doing. And it's a good signal. I take my learnings from there.
I love it. Brave and throw it out there. Antonio, what about you?
I deeply believe in caring about your people, right? So and building, because trust is not just we're just talking in a green room here that during the pandemic our kids running around, and this is life. Life is the work and our personal lives are all mixed today, And I think that it matters when you know the little details about people. What are their goals in life? For some, they just got married. They want to, buy their first home. For some others, is okay, we want to move. We want to be in the Bay Area. We want to go close to our family. I think knowing those little details, I think it makes a difference every time you talk to them and you remember. We don't have a gigantic memory, so I take notes. Every time I talk to someone and there is a little detail, I take notes, about that conversation, and I remember every time, we talk again. And also, I deeply believe that this is about relationships. So everything we do, we always bump into each other all the time in this industry, and you collect the relationships. So building this relationship that where they're going, and you then recommend them to the next challenge, and you help being a referral, or coaching, like here at Plato. So I think those are the things that I would say. Authenticity, deeply caring about each one of the people on your team, making that deep connection, and being vulnerable. Right. So in that moment, you share. A lot of us are immigrants. That's what connects me with a lot of you, and our personal experiences in sharing that. I think that breaks the ice and really helps us accelerate that trust. So this is a little bit from me, a little bit on my side.
Yeah. So caring personally. It's okay to do that at work. It builds the camaraderie. That's amazing. Xiao, what about you?
Yeah. So I think that a lot of people here on this panel and the people who are listening are quite intelligent. There's a lot of places people can go for work, and then people choose to be here, and part of because of the mission, a lot part is because the people around us. So to me, sometimes I would, there's interesting joke. Sometimes I ask if there's a outage, I have to go with the person in the office on a Saturday or late night, midnight. Would I feel like so excited to work with this person on this, or would I just be like I just want to get this done and don't want to work with the person? So we spend so many hours at our work, especially in hypergrowth startups, so many hours. So it has to be really important that the work is enjoyable. The people we work with is like, we're happy working with each other, even in very tough and long hours. So to me, very important for us to have the trust with each other, so that we enjoy working with each other. So part of time we spend on the work. So part of the, we also, like says, we need to know each other's even sometimes personal life, because we spend so much time with each other. So I also try to notice everybody what's their, I call it golden topic. What's the golden topic? They will talk about it forever. Maybe the topic is infrastructure, like let's just say GraphQL, or maybe the topic is like traveling or music or something. So I try to understand what each people really likes, and it helps to build the trust. It also helps with to find them interest in guide them in a career if I know what's their objective in life and work, their interest.
I just wanted to add one thing. I think, something I struggle with, a lot of you might be struggling with. How do you get engineers to open up? They're not the most talkative bunch. So, this is something I struggle with. You're like, how are things going? Things are going great. Do you want to talk about anything? I don't know. Why are we having this one-on-one meeting? Like, this is like been my entire early career. Like, it's really hard to get them to talk. So something I've started asking that changed the way I was communicating with the team was, when I meet someone in a one-on-one, I'll ask them, what's the most important thing you want to talk about today? It's a very specific question. And if you think about it, it puts them on a spot to answer, really think about it. And that gets the conversation going. And it takes so many years before you have to be patient with this process. Some people will open up immediately. It's your job as a leader, as a manager, to pull information. You have to keep pulling on all these threads of information you will receive in bits and pieces over your journey of like coaching a human or guiding them through their next role. So I'm going to drop in thread a one-on-one template as a hot tip. Use it, make it your own, tell us how it's going. But it's important for us managers to also share these tips and tricks with each other on like what's working for you, what's not working for you.
I love it. I think for one-on-one, if most time I'm talking, I think it's a pretty failed one-on-one. And in a one-on-one that mostly is the engineer manager that's talking, then I feel it's it's a success, because like I need to hear from them. If I'm just talking, maybe there's just, oh, what's she talking about? Like, it's not relevant. I'm not even caring about what she's talking about. So like, I try to also let them open up. So it is, at first I just listen. I don't have to give an answer or recommendation, or I just listen as much as I can. Then I will know what's going on with them. Then I can know how I can help, either during this one-on-one or afterwards.
That's great. Yeah, I'm already trying your system, your one-on-one system, Rukmini. So I got positive early results.
I actually borrowed it heavily from a book called Fierce Conversations. Please go read that book. It's amazing.
Right, yes.
There's also like a good one-on-one template. I think it's called Lighthouse. I think they have good one-on-one templates too for both direct managers and skip level managers. So check it out.
Okay, we're going to get into a few questions here to spice it up. The first one, it says, what does cultivating a culture of trust look like? What specific activities do you undertake to build and maintain trust?
I can just give a brief thing, and I would love to hear from Antonio as well. I think you start off by being approachable. Start off by being empathetic. If you're a new engineering leader, I would say like do 60 days of listening, not just from your team, but cross-functionally on what's working, what's not working. If there's one thing my team could do better, what are they doing great? Because you also don't want to be the fixer of everything. That's how you lose trust. When you come in, you want to show your worth, and you're like, I'm going to fix all the problems, and you can lose a lot of trust upfront. So practice listening, be empathetic, and celebrate your team. That's a good hot tip to start to build trust in the beginning if you're joining a new team. Antonio, over to you.
Actually, I do have an exercise that I've been doing for the last year, I got that from the Netflix book, No Rules, and it's called like a feedback loop. So it's a very fast round robin. 5 minutes you give feedback, 5 minutes you listen to feedback. First time I tried, my team said, "Oh my God, you're going to destroy the team. The trust is you're going to break everything." And then after we've done that, and then we share with each other, "Hey, this is what I listened. This is what the information I got from all of you." One, it opens up the guard, and I think that now my teams are rescaling this, and the teams are all doing. And I thought that was incredibly powerful for everyone to be open and to share. So I would definitely recommend. I'm going to see if there is a little template on how to run it. I thought it was incredibly powerful. That's a tool that I would recommend you to try if you want to have a strong feedback culture.
One of my managers used a workflow called Friday Fives, where they literally send people 3 things they did great this week and 2 things they can improve. So if you wanted to use a tool to automate what Antonio said.
Chao, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just on feedback. I also once when I was at Instacart, I had a recruiter. She told me, "Oh, my manager is so wonderful." So I asked her why. Like she told me because he wrote all the things he needs to improve for his perf to the whole team. So really vulnerable, really just like sharing with everything. She said, "Wow, like he so trusts us to let us know what himself needs to improve for his perf feedback." And then I was like, "Oh, that's great." Then I borrowed that framework and I also tried it. After that, it's just every cycle after perf, hey, there's things I did good. There's things I receive feedback from you guys, from maybe cross-functional, from my manager, who these things I'm going to focus on next 6 months. So I've been using that while Instacart and also share with my direct reports when I'm working on. So people at least see, okay, so she acknowledged this kind of area she's working on. So she has growth mindset. She's kind of working on this. So I thought it was pretty great. I just steal it from the others. So every time you hear like someone say, "Oh, manager's wonderful, best manager," then ask them why. Maybe they'll show you some tips.
That's great. Yeah. And I would just also throw out there, any of those 50, it only takes 15 minutes to sort of get rid of that fundamental attribution error challenge that people have where they really, need to have empathy and understand someone deeply. Okay, let's do one more here. How do we know that we have built enough trust in our team? How can we even measure it? So we had one suggestion from Rukmini, ask, right? That's a really big one. Poll and and see if people believe it.
I think,
right?
you really know when you have trust in difficult moments, right? So when you feel like you can have an honest, transparent conversation and you don't need to hold anything back. Very hard for us in engineering to say, hey, how do you measure this? It's kind of intuitive. It's something that that you don't have. And I think, Rukmini had a great recommendation, which is to just be vulnerable and share so you start with you as a leader. But yeah, I think, when you can have hard conversations and that is not personal and we're all share a common goal of doing something better or fixing things, I think, I don't know how to measure it, but when you have it, a high trust, and when it's fragile. So definitely I feel that.
I think you will hear it. This happened to me last week. My direct, he's amazing. I was seeing him in person. And is there any? Okay. He just said to me that, thank you for the feedback. It took you 10 minutes to give, and I just went back to work. It didn't, there was enough trust for us to tell him.
Does anybody want to add anything onto that? Chao, do you want to?
Yeah, I think to me, I personally, I don't, when I first started in my career, I don't like working in organization where it starts become a little bit political. Like Antonio said, I just like building products for customers and just like launching things or doing something, having fun with the people together. And I noticed that if you notice your organization becomes a little bit political, I think it's a sign of the trust is not there. People are having their own goals and not actually aligned on the overall company goals. And then that must because there's some problem in there. So I see if organization becomes a little bit political, I would think people are not aligning and not trusting each other.
Right. And that's a great point and probably a good one to bring us home, right? If you don't have trust, right, you're not going to have that constructive conflict. You're not going to have that commitment. You're not going to have that accountability, and you're probably not hitting your collective results, right? So, because that's what it's all about. So, okay, I think we've done it. That should wrap it up. And I just want to thank you guys for being here. I want to thank Plato for bringing us all together. Hopefully all of you out there feel just a little bit more equipped to build trust in your organizations. And I wish everybody a wonderful rest of their day. So thanks for a really fun panel. And thank you, panelists, for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Janice. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you, Janice.